With an increasingly devoted following, this self-proclaimed double good super genius floated herself and her followers to the San Francisco Bay on a sinking tugboat. But soon, extreme adherence to her espoused beliefs caused her followers to lose their freedom and some nearby to lose their lives. This week's episode is The Zizians, Part 2. Sinisterhood. Well, we're back with these fuckheads.
Oof. Yeah, this is a rough one, too.
It's about to turn. It's where they turn.
Yeah, lots of turning happens here. So lots of gore. We're going to, we don't personally like talking about gory stuff. So we cover it sometimes. We try not to get into too many details because, you're free to go look it up on your own if you'd like.
Certainly. Especially we don't try to get into details for detail's sake, but at least in this one, we will give you some details so that this isn't just a bunch of kids messing around and pushing somebody down. It will take a turn in this one. So as much as we gave him shit and joked around last one, I think, like we said, should have stopped him sooner because this is where it ramps up. But
yeah, I think you made a good point last time about rich white kids. And I mean, it's no surprise to anybody that they're treated differently than, even poor white kids and certainly people of color, children of color. Well, they're not children. They are 20s, adults, 30s, but I feel like when you grow up really privileged and kind of in a bubble and you're so smart, you also kind of stunt street smart wise. So you might be smart about some stuff, but then you're also just real arrogant and up your own ass about a lot of other stuff.
Absolutely. And kind of going, oh, well, you're a genius with this wealth and privilege. So these doors will just open for you. And I think it's fascinating to see what happened when Ziz got to Silicon Valley and everybody was like, we don't want to fucking hire you. And suddenly you're no longer the top of your class. It's similar. You see it in law school where it's all the best kids from all their schools all go to one place where they all start competing with each other. And you see people freak out in law school because, well, I was always the best. It's like, well, you weren't around these other challengers. So they all come to this Bay Area thinking like, I'm going to keep on being the best. And then you're like, well, there's always somebody that's willing to like fight harder than you, work harder than you, like, and not espouse crazy shit on the internet. And
you go from being a big fish in a tiny pond to the opposite, which I mean, law school, the comedy scene, like pretty much anything where people move to the city that's like the mecca for whatever industry they're in. And then you're like, oh, I'm not as special as I thought I was.
Suddenly your tugboat's sinking in the bay and you're like, son of a bitch. Oh, before we get to all that though, an exciting thing to tell you all about. If you're on our Patreon, we spilled the beans a little early to y'all on the live Q&A this past week. Thanks everybody for coming to that. But we're doing a live show on the ground, not in the water. This is one that's on the ground.
Except for on the water. This is our ground show. We have 2 live shows this year. Ground and sea.
We'll see if we add an air. Maybe if somebody has a private plane.
Yeah, we got to go live from an airplane. Fuck. We'll figure that out at another time. But for now, our land show, October 4th at the beloved Texas Theater, where we've had so many other super fun shows. We're having one show. We were like, it's October, it's spooky season, it's our favorite month. What can we do? And then Heather came up with a brilliant theme that we tried to touch on with full moon energy a bit, but we just ran out of time.
And space,
so now we're going whole hard on this one subject for this one.
And I also have to say I get inspired by you because I feel like you have also brought me into this like more earthen, badass boss fucking Seasons of the Witch is what we're calling it. We're calling it Seasons of the Witch.
Seasons of the Witch.
All about
or Season of the Witch.
There we go. We'll call it Season of the
Season of the Witch because it's October.
It's single.
It's the singular. Let me change it in the outline.
We're erasing it. You're hearing us come up with it live.
Season of the Witch is what it is called.
Just like you've heard in that famous song. Because we also decided on Freaky Friday the other day. We're fucking over it. We're like, you know what? feral. We're going fucking feral. Call me. What does Taylor say? They're burning all the witches, even if you aren't one. So light me up, light me up. So we're gonna have a lot of stuff. Light me up,
I'm on fire because I've been lit by a torch because they thought I was a witch in Salem. That's what that song's about.
Absolutely. We're going to cover all kinds of stuff. Like we kind of did with Full Moon Energy. We got the creepy part of it, the true crime part of it, and misconceptions and whatnot. So we're very excited to lean into the truth, the fiction, and what we can all take away and step into our own witch power this season. So be there October 4th at the Texas Theater, and we're going to try to figure out perhaps a way for virtual people to join as well.
We'll definitely always try to do that.
Stay tuned for that. But if you want to be there, don't be square. Be there.
No. In fact, be a pentagram. And I I was gonna say you're automatically in the coven if you come.
Yes, absolutely.
Virtually, if we can do that, and also in person.
We're going to figure out an invocation ceremony at the end to where that we all, we're all going to step into a power. It's going to be a powerful night. So the Patreon presale is going to drop as you're listening today, as you are here. Go to our Patreon for the Ruling the Airwaves and higher tiers. Friday, it's going to open to the general public. We're going to do a VIP option as well as an attendance option. And then we'll figure out digital shortly, and we'll send you all that information when we have it. But for now, get your ass to Patreon. Yeah. Get your ass to sinisterhood.com/live shows, and we'll get you at the ground show.
We're going to have a new t-shirt design.
Yes,
which I don't know what it is, but I'll buy anything witchy, and especially if it's from my own company. So
we always end up wearing the brand.
I will certainly be sporting that, but we could decorate the stage with just the books on the shelves behind me. It could be a whole library. There's so many.
Can't wait.
There's going to be so much shit that we get to use to decorate.
It's going to be badass. And all the stuff we want to talk about and that we have wanted to talk about either in episodes or on past live shows. It's all going to be in Season of the Witch. So check out the Patreon presale. Get them live this Friday for the general public at sinisterhood.com/live shows, where you will also see information on Crime Wave at Sea, the ultimate true crime festival at sea, November 3rd
through the 7th show.
It's the water show. I can't believe that it's just literally going to be October live show. Literally the next month is the cruise is like already here. Fuck, I can't believe it.
I know.
Shit.
And then it's Christmas, and then it's 2026.
Jesus.
It's going by fast. And
I'm holding on.
You got to hold on quick. A lot's happening. Even as we speak, our state Democrat leaders have fled the state, as so many of us want to put a stop to the gerrymandering bullshit that's trying to go on in these fair parts, because we all have a right to vote for the representative we want to see represent us. It should not be forced upon us.
Or drawn in a way that looks completely wild. It's like, whose child drew this? And you find out it's not. It's actually, I'm assuming they use like AI or algorithmic like calculations on how to draw it to be the most advantageous. I mean, quite literally saying, I'll pick up more seats if I draw it this way. Sounds to me like a kind of a prejudiced way to go about it. So yeah, shout out to Texas Democrats for staying out of the state and utilizing a state constitutionally available remedy, to anybody going, oh, you're just not doing your job. Hey, guess what, dummy? It's written in the Constitution that says you can do this, and here's how you do it. And when you do it, here's what happens next. So it's not quite the same as a no call, no show. It's like, I'm all for difference in saying, I'm not going to come to work because it's unsafe.
Flee. And I don't even like to say flee, because to me that sounds like you're running away. But team
bust that quorum.
Yeah, because they're playing dirty, and at some point, I'm not saying we're playing dirty, but you got to fight fire with fire. And if this is one of the ways you can demonstrate power, because laws don't seem to matter anymore, then this is what you got to do. And we'll see our stupid ass governors threatening to arrest everyone, hunt them down and arrest them. I'm like, do you mean like the president of the United States should have been arrested and held accountable for all 34 convictions? ...
Nobody's doing anything right. It's all, what did I tell you last night? We're living in whose line is it anyway times. The points are made up and the rules don't matter anymore.
And Tommy also said, we're getting to the end of things, which caused me to fucking spiral. I told you, Life of Chuck set me on a spiral, just... And Sunday Scaries, a lot of great videos. Several of them made me contemplate my own existence.
Yeah, so you can watch it for free at our Patreon. Sunday Scaries, go contemplate your existence with us. Because, yeah, it really certainly will do that. Well, in the meantime, let's contemplate these people's existence.
Yeah, oh, man. Well.
Lort.
Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get into it. After the arrest at the Rationalist Retreat, Lota and her followers entered a quieter phase. Legal proceedings were slowed by the COVID-19 pandemic and went online. At one Zoom hearing, follower Alexander Leatham appeared in a hazmat suit and gas mask, claiming that the judge was a
member of a cis supremacist cult.
During this period, some followers lived communally, bouncing between rentals and boats and staying off the grid. The protest and group's dramatic court appearances circulated widely online. As transcripts, manifestos, and videos spread, so did the group's hold over its adherence.
That's something you remember, is if, the defendant pops on screen in a gas mask. And
yeah.
Here's the thing. Perhaps, I don't know that the judge is a literal member of a cis supremacist cult. And I'm saying we all have something in common with somebody right now. Just look across how many people are in favor of releasing the Epstein files. I think we're all united on something. Exactly. Myself included, no matter what party you're a member of. So it's like, I think she's right. We could perhaps examine ways in which we are more set up for a cis binary type society and how that might harm two-spirit, non-binary, or gender fluid people. Maybe not in a gas mask during your court appearance is the time for that. Yeah. Or maybe you figure eyes are on you and it's like, I'm going to protest.
It's so often people could have a good message, but if the way it's packaged and presented is controversial or makes people uncomfortable in a way that's not like, we should all be uncomfortable and get out of our comfort zone. It's like, what is this steampunk like fucking thing why are you wearing a gas mask? Like, read the room. Maybe that's not the best way to spread your message if you want to be taken seriously.
Which I told you after all of the research on this group, and again, putting a pin in the horrific violence, it's a lot of the Magicians Alliance we demand to be taken seriously. They're doing these very silly things, and then they're like, pay attention to us and take us seriously. Well, before they turn to violence, they're doing things in kind of like a haphazard, silly, dumbass way. And I think it's kind of a danger of like, we need to take that seriously, even if they're doing it kind of in a dumbass way of like, what is this person capable of?
Yeah. When they're showing up in Jedi robes and quoting Star Wars, nobody really takes them seriously. Again, though, it's just kind of a gateway into when do we get weapons and escalate? And unfortunately, it was not too long after all of that.
It takes one person going, fuck it, I'll go buy a gun right now. Sinisterhood will be right back. If your dog could talk, they would warn you about what's lurking in their bowls. Mass-produced kibble isn't just unappetizing. It could be a crime against canine health. Mysterious byproducts, unpronounceable preservatives, and who knows what fillers? Sounds more like evidence from a mystery than a scene at dinner.
Ollie is here to crack the case on pet nutrition with fresh, human-grade meals made with the highest quality ingredients. No mystery meats, no artificial junk, just real, minimally processed food made in U.S. kitchens. It's the kind of clean eating that keeps tails wagging and noses sniffing for more.
And here's how it works. Couldn't be easier. Fill out Ollie's 30-second quiz and they'll create a customized meal plan based on your pup's weight, activity level, and other health info. Then get expert recommendations. Ollie will crunch the numbers and recommend to you the right recipes and daily portions for your precious pup based on hundreds of thousands of real dog results. Then get your welcome kit. For any first-timers, Ollie will send out your pup's first box with 2 weeks worth of meals and a guide on how to gradually switch them over to their new diet. Customize your plan. Ollie offers 3 meal plans to choose from, so you can choose between a full fresh plan, fresh topper plan, or a mixed plan with their freshly baked recipes for your special fur baby. They also have treats and supplements, and don't forget, Ollie is the only fresh dog food that comes with unlimited routine health screenings, so you can get your pup on track to living their healthiest, happiest life. We got the food, we got the pup tainer, we got the treats, we got these visits. What more do we need?
Honestly, nothing. And I'm about to go put a lamb and blueberry frozen little meal right in my pup-tainer. It's the perfect size. It's almost like they were made for each other, just like us. They
Honestly,
go together perfectly. And I love things that are meant specifically for things. And that's what it uses for. So you don't have to like go around looking for something every time. You're like, where's the dog bowl? You know, like this is for that. And that's what we do.
It is. And when you give them the food, you're like, this looks and smells human quality. Like, this looks so good. I have also said to Paris, if the shit hits the fan and we got to start eating dog food, we better keep around the good stuff.
No, yeah. If the shit hits the fan and we've all got to go underground and eat canned goods and dog food, frozen. I'm going with Ollie because it's the closest to what I would really eat. So I'm going to have to fight Kate for it, I guess. What it comes down to.
Mean, you start looking at that pup-tainer, you're like, oh no, I wouldn't say no. I'm just saying dogs deserve the best, and that means fresh, healthy food. Head to ollie.com/creepy. Tell them all about your dog. Use code CREEPY to get 60% off your welcome kit when you subscribe today.
Plus, they offer a happiness guarantee on the first box. So if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. That's OLLIE.com/creepy and enter code CREEPY to get 60% off your first box.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
Things weren't always utopian in the Zizian community. In online writings, associates described physical abuse and sexual degradation at a Bay Area residence known among insiders as, quote, guilt or guilty house. One anonymous commenter described it bluntly as
a brothel.
Protest arrestee Gwen Danielson referred to her time there as
a many months-long abusive living situation.
In a post titled Fighting Abuse. Alex Leatham, who was also arrested alongside Ziz at the 2019 protest, wrote disturbingly about a housemate who
repeatedly beat another member with a stick.
Leatham also alleged in older posts that someone within the house offered up a fellow group member as
a toy I could have sex with,
suggesting a culture of coercion and exploitation behind the community's public-facing ideology. However, they were still able to recruit new members from outside the Bay Area via online connections.
If you're following Ziz's blog, you would know if everybody's getting their asses beat or who's getting traded around as a sex object or whatever. You just hear these espousing of like, I'm telling you how to live your life.
Mm-hmm. All is hunky-dory there. Much like Jeff and Shalea, all the videos and stuff they were posting on Instagram looks great, but you don't see the students living in their basement that are cleaning for them for free and, having to work all hours of the day.
No, exactly. It's definitely like just come here and it's like almost like the same with the fellas. God damn, how am I forgetting their name? Synanon, where it would be like these almost like advertisements of how great it is. And then you get there and you're like, oh, we're all being tortured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone that's says, oh, they're just a toy. Couldn't be more of a red flag because you've stripped that person completely of their autonomy and you don't even look at them as a human anymore. So it would be hard for me to believe it's just one person. And even if it is one, that's one too many.
Absolutely.
In 2021, devoted follower Michelle Jamie Zajkos took a major step toward off-grid living by purchasing a $10,000 plot of land in rural Vermont, over 3,000 miles away from the Bay Area. On her blog, Zajkos wrote that her move was driven by guilt over her
complicity in the animal murder industry
and fear of an imminent infrastructure collapse fueled by
the rise of fascism in the U.S.
Her goal was to build a self-sustaining home using a converted box truck outfitted with pressurized water tanks, solar panels, and storage for long-term vegan supplies. She invited other Zizians to join her, framing the project as both a moral imperative and a survivalist refuge.
Here's the thing. I feel like this isn't a bad idea. Like, again, if the idea is that you want to figure out a way that you and your friends can live in a way that's sustainable, that you see the writing on the walls and go, listen, I can't live below this line because it's straight up just going to be too hot in 30 years. Why would I buy a house somewhere where I'm going to get burned up? And this way, if we need to move, we could move. Yeah. So again, it's one of those where it all starts out with the best of intentions.
Yeah. And there's little things you can pick out from these that you're like, I do agree with that. Doesn't mean that you agree with all of it. So don't flip out and be like, am I a Zizian? No, we all think that like several of these ideas make sense in theory. Yeah. But it's the execution that's lacking.
Well, and I think, too, it makes it easy to, like, get wrapped up in it. If you see her posting about this and you're like, oh, this is rational for sure. And you don't realize what it's like when you get there.
Yeah. Oh, yes. In August of 2022, during a Zoom hearing for the ongoing legal proceedings, Lota's attorney made a startling announcement. Lota was dead. According to Coast Guard records and family reports, she allegedly fell overboard from a small sailboat called the Black Signet in the San Francisco Bay late at night. Over the course of 30 hours, the Coast Guard, fire departments, and local agencies combed more than 167 square miles of water and shoreline, but found nothing. Despite the lack of a body, Lota's mother secured a legal death declaration in Alaska, and her obituary was published in the Fairbanks Daily News Miner and on Legacy.com, memorializing her as someone who
loved adventure, friends and family, music, blueberries, biking, computer games, and animals. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well,
live by the water, die by the water. Yeah. One of the last things she wrote was that she seemed threatened. She said, "Status come threaten me to snitch whatever info I have on their latest missing persons. Did I strike them down in a horrific act of bloody vengeance? Did I drive them to suicide by whistling Komm, süßer Tod," which is a German phrase that means come sweet death. "Maybe they died in a series of experimental brain surgeries that I performed without anesthetic, since that's against my religion, in an improvised medical facility." And then there was like a stock photo of people wearing shirts, and one said, "I can neither confirm nor deny." And then hours later, she wrote, "Don't trust anyone over 30 with a kill count of 0. So she seemed to be implying that she had purposefully or accidentally killed people, whether that's true or not.
Yeah.
And that she had a kill count over 0. Yeah. I take that, but that could be just my reading of her.
No, I would assume that too. I got a 0 kill count and I'm over 30, but I feel like I can be trusted.
Yeah, I think I should most be things. It's like, even though I have a 0 kill count, I'm willing. Like, depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the opportunity hasn't presented itself, but
right.
You know.
And right around that same time, also the tugboat sunk and was like determined to be this kind of wreckage that the city was going to have to, or the county is going to have to like tow away. So she's not on a lot of money. Yeah,
no, all this shit is costing a lot of money. And who's paying for it?
Us, the taxpayers,
not them.
No, meanwhile, there's a fucking Coast Guard, fire department, and local agencies searching 167 square miles. That ain't free.
No, and it also takes away from other searches that could be happening. Curtis Lind, an older man in his late 70s, first crossed paths with the nascent Zizian circle back in early of 2020, after Lota and fellow followers abandoned their boat project near Pillar Point and sought land-based refuge. Lind, a retired tugboat captain, owned a waterfront trailer yard in Vallejo, California. He had previously brokered housing for transitory tech workers, so he agreed to let Lota's group park box trucks and RVs on his property in exchange for rent payments, partly out of neighborly generosity and a shared boating background.
They also told him that they were going to start a company involving these box trucks. And they're like, well, we're going to live here, but it's part of our company. And he had rented out the land before. So, I mean, to him, he's like, oh, sweet, new tenants.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a campground that you might rent out to. The Zizians' lifestyle had grown increasingly extreme. They continued to practice unihemispheric sleep, which led to chronic sleep deprivation. They also used LSD and were reportedly seen walking around nude on the property. Lind initially tolerated them, but asked them to leave after they stopped paying rent during the COVID moratorium. Federal law forbade Lind from evicting them until late 2022. As soon as he could, Lind began enforcing the delinquency, which set the stage for confrontation. He routinely visited the property to check on leaks and vehicle issues, maintaining a wary but civil relationship with the group.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as it became clear that he could not evict them. They just stopped paying rent, which was a federal relief measure put in by the government, thinking like this will stave off people experiencing homelessness during the pandemic by basically barring any type of eviction. Well, then they started throwing rocks at him and like trying to keep him out no matter, he'd asked for money, to where now you're like in your 30s throwing rocks at an elderly man. Mm-hmm. Fuck you. Like, also, first of all, trash. Yeah, pay your rent.
It's not your property, you know, but it becomes like where when more of an opposing group, even if they're not the owners, mm-hmm. show up and you're outnumbered, especially if you're an older man, it's just one person. Like, what are you to do? What were we just watching where that came up?
Where there was, like people, what were we just watching? And we were like, well, I mean, if you're outnumbered, it's just like, fuck it. Like, you got to.
God. Was it the movie? I don't know. I've watched a lot of things in the past like 72 hours that are kind of blurring together at this point. But something we watched, we were like, I mean, what do you do if another group just kind of shows up and outnumbers you? What is there to do? Oh, it was the storming Area 51 in Rachel, Nevada. When they all and it's like, we don't want them here, but you're like, well, 1 million people are going to show up in your town of 12. So how would you like to handle this?
Yeah, and the guy that's like, I've lived here 30 years. They're going to destroy everything. Like, I hope they don't get nope, they got a permit. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like, what do you do? And I think for this guy, he's like, oh, well, I'm a landlord, so no matter what, I will be able to evict them. Was the moratorium overall a good thing? Some say yes, it kept them from getting evicted. That was when I worked at Legal Aid and was like working with landlords, working with tenants whose landlords were trying to circumvent this and, trying to get the landlords paid so that the federal government would pay them. So it's not that you're not getting any money. You get some money. It's just these people couldn't pay. So it sounds to me like the Zizians' rationale was like, oh, well, we have a loophole and we could just cheat and not pay. So let's just cheat this man out of his money as much as we can until we can get away with it. And then whenever you couldn't get away with it anymore, now what do you do?
Yeah. Yep. On November 13th, 2022, Lind was summoned to the property under the pretext of a plumbing issue. Zizians, Alexander Leatham, Surrey Dow, and Emma Borhanian claimed they needed his help to fix the problem. Dow lured Lind outside to inspect a claimed water leak. There, Lind was ambushed, struck over the head, and stabbed repeatedly with knives. Leatham escalated the violence by impaling Lind with a samurai sword, piercing his chest deeply and leaving him blinded in one eye. Lind managed to draw his firearm in self-defense, killing Borhanian and gravely injuring Leatham before staggering to a neighbor's yard, calling for help and collapsing.
This is a 70-something-year-old, by all accounts, very kind man, pillar of the community. And these nasty, sick individuals lie to him, say they have a water leak. And not only that, his daughter claims that even before this, that they were kind of like wearing headlamps and running around in the dark and like terrorizing him on top of that. And that they had prepared a bath of chemicals with the idea that when they had stabbed him to death, they were going to dissolve. Again, this is the daughter's allegation, but that there was chemicals on property that were meant to dissolve a human body. But to run an adult person, an older adult, through with a samurai sword, they said it stuck out 1 foot in front. They stabbed him in the back, again, like cowards, all the way through in a 2.5 to 3 foot samurai sword. That means it completely went through his body and came out the other side. This is a wild escalation.
Very. Yeah. It really went from no violence, kind of just threats of, they showed up at the protests with weird masks on and, we're yelling stuff, to now we've got a samurai sword.
And knives and chemical baths and plans for dismembering an older gentleman who did nothing but, I don't know, ask for his completely within his rights owed rent because they're being trash and not wanting to pay. And I mean, he was hospitalized over a month. He had a tube in his chest. I'm surprised
he lived at all.
Shocking. I mean, I think if he didn't have that firearm with him, they would have killed him.
Yeah.
And I have nothing wrong with him pulling out his gun and shooting.
Hell no, you're being stabbed with a samurai sword. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the Zizians are lucky he didn't blast all 3 of them away.
Yeah. I mean, if he could have, he may have, and he would have been well within his rights. Not only are they attacking him in such a vicious way, 3 against 1. He's, in his late 70s. They also had to have clearly planned it for quite some time to
premeditated.
Plan out how we're going to get him here. If we got chemicals, how did we get all that? Where did we get all these weapons? So it wasn't just a spur of the moment type of thing. It was very premeditated.
And especially the luring coming over, oh, we have this water problem. He's like, I'll just walk you through how to fix it. And they're like, no, we need you to come here so we can wait till your back is turned and hit you in the head and then stab you. To be fair, there is not a conviction yet. So for legal purposes, allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay. The attack shocked the Vallejo community. One eyewitness, Lynn's 81-year-old neighbor, Patrick McMillan, later testified that he found Lynn bleeding.
Like a stuck pig.
With a sword lodged in his chest and a bloody flap of skin hanging from his head. McMillan told emergency operators,
"This man has been stabbed many times. He is bleeding to death."
As he pleaded for help. Lynn later recovered from his injuries, though he lost one eye. The Zizians were held in custody pending trial, especially after Lethem bolted down a hospital corridor while recovering from her gunshot wound and exited through an emergency door before being apprehended and returned.
Again, they're running off. Not very fast, not very well. But it's like a Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I don't know why that image pisses me off so much. But any type of they've been brainwashed, they've been brought in, for me at this point has kind of gone away because with so many, at some point you're just complicit. You go from being a potential victim or victim to being complicit. And this has 100% in my mind crossed the line. So it's very hard for me to feel any type of sympathy for them at this point.
It really is, especially when it turns to premeditated violence. And for, we'll get to it in a minute. Lota was not holding the knife. Like there was no, by this point, for all we know, Lota's dead. Mm-hmm. It's just these 3 former followers kind of bumming around living in these box trucks. So no, I don't think. And also, whenever you get to the hospital, then there's the time to go, I didn't want to do any of this. Mm-hmm. And she made me do everything. And I just want to see my family again. And I was just doing what I could to survive. No, you fucking try to run away and escape.
And I mean, they're still brainwashed, I believe.
True.
I think the system failed many people many times when they are all brought into a hospital and the story starts to unravel. Where are the doctors or nurses or law enforcement that's like, well, we need to get all of you into some mental health facilities because you're clearly not doing well. Mm-hmm. But it's not like that really ever. But especially when you've got 3 young kids who have been pulling shit like this and it's an old man, it seems even less likely that people are going to want to help them.
No, absolutely. I think the optics alone are especially when you attach them to the previous protest where you just see child endangerment. Once you start racking up all these charges, I think the public's opinion of you starts to take a huge nosedive. Oh, yeah. And especially when it's not that, Mr. Lind went out and tried to attack them and said, get off my property once and for all. No, they lured him. So You're right. I think, however, it is imperative that all of them undergo, and I'm sure they undergo pretrial psychiatric evaluations to know how in touch with reality are you? Are you doing this because you're like, well, Ziz said the world is ending, so we have to do whatever it takes. And you're like, oh, you need to be unwound from all this.
Yeah. Can you stand trial competently on your own? It would be a great question. Mm-hmm. According to court documents and media reports, police encountered Lota on Curtis Lynn's property during or after the violent incident. Recognizing Lota, police in Vallejo emailed the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office, who in turn let Lota's lawyers in the protest case know that their client was, in fact, alive. She was briefly handcuffed at gunpoint and taken to the Vallejo police station. However, Lota reportedly faked a medical emergency, convincing officers to transport her to the hospital instead. Ultimately, she was released without charges.
It's crazy that every time something happens, she's like, I have a tummy ache. Can you take me to the hospital?
Guess
and
what?
The second, they're just...
Yeah. And also, you can still go to the hospital and then still have charge. That's not a get out of jail free card.
I don't know what happens, how they keep getting loose from multiple of them. Like as soon as they get arrested, it's like, I don't feel so good. And then the second they're in the hospital, just looking for an exit. I can see why as a authority, you'd be like, I'm not giving anybody bail. Y'all trying to bolt for the door.
Imagine the attorneys when they get that call. It's like, FYI, she's not dead. She's alive and well. We got her right here.
They're like, bit of a good news, bad news. She is not dead. However, she was on site at a violent murder that seems to have been carried out by people that she's directing. So I'm not sure how that's going to all pan out for you, attorney. And that attorney's like, I'm here for the protest case only. Sounds good. Boop. Like, what do you even do?
Yeah, it's giving Manson in the sense that I'm not getting my hands dirty. Mm-hmm. However, everyone that follows me is going to do my bidding.
Mm-hmm.
Investigators found no evidence that Lota participated directly in the violence against Lind. Although materials like samurai swords, tactical gear, and a cache suggesting premeditation were found in the group's box trucks, there was no probable cause to charge Lota for the attack. This decision raised eyebrows among critics, noting that Lota, as the group's ideological leader and principal instigator, appeared to be given unusually lenient treatment.
Yeah, especially given all the shit they found in the box trucks, including used surgical equipment and more than a dozen laptops. Hopefully there's some forensic analysis of those laptops as well as the surgical equipment to see what the fuck else was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that the person that there's a paper trail saying we are all here because of this person, that the cops were like, I don't know, you weren't holding the sword. You can go ahead and go.
Yeah, it is. It's very strange. I mean, my first thought is, well, they're white. So that's just an automatic checkpoint for, unfortunately, like, of the cops thinking like, well, they're probably not that big of a threat. What are you talking about? They samurai sword this man.
Not only that, it's I've obviously not met her, but it's my understanding that Ziz Lota is quite charismatic and captivating and can be good to talk to. So I don't know if that's true or not, but
a lot of cult leaders are
sweet talking the cops enough to, smart enough to outsmart the cops and kind of, get them to give you a minute. And then in that minute you run off.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen with like abusers or cult leaders, they are charismatic and able to mask, and when it comes to talking to people in authority or luring people in, it's kind of the same, personality traits that they would use for both. But they wouldn't have these people following them if they weren't good at convincing people of stuff. And that applies to everyone.
For sure. Not, followers and cops. And so your accomplices, or not accomplices, but your followers are charged with murder because they got charged with the murder of Emma for being the instigators of this incident that led to her death, and then attempted murder for Mr. Lind and aggravated mayhem. So they're in jail, and the person who was on site arguably perhaps was like, go and lure him outside. Perhaps, we don't know, is just like loose.
Yeah. Lota left Vallejo as two followers languished in jail and apparently headed to the northeast. Weeks later, she surfaced as police closed in on suspects behind two Philadelphia area homicides. Before buying land in Vermont for her fellow Zizians to engage in off-grid living in 2021, Michelle Jamie Zajkos grew up in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. She was the adopted daughter of Richard and Rita Zajkos, beloved community members known for their generosity and friendliness. Richard, age 72, was a hands-on landlord for his tenants, an expert gardener who often donated clothes to struggling tenants. Rita, age 69, was a warm, welcoming neighbor. Zajkos was the classic offbeat art kid in Cardinal O'Hara High School in Springfield, shy, imaginative, and always drawing wizards and dragons. Though she had few close friends, those who knew her said she was never violent and genuinely wanted to help people. She often complained that her strict parents stifled her self-expression, even claiming in a blog post that they forced her to dye her natural brown hair blonde.
And Richard and Rita struggled to conceive, so they adopted Michelle and were like so happy to have this essentially perfect kid, like Dean's List always, honor roll, like quiet, not getting into fights, not being like violent or outrageous or crazy, just being like overall like good high achieving kid.
Drawing dragons and wizards in a room, reading.
Love your fantasy art and your books.
Mm-hmm. After making the dean's list at Cabrini University, Jamie Zajkos started off studying graphic design. She switched to biology after discovering the online rationalist community through Yudkowsky's Harry Potter fanfiction. Inspired by ideas from sites like Less Wrong, she began blogging about veganism, atheism, and her desire to make the world better. She raised money to fight malaria and even gave an interview with an online publication while in college, saying,
"I want to help save people for my career, but this is a way I can do it now."
Zajkos later earned a master's in bioinformatics from Temple University, completing competitive internships at both a leading children's hospital and NASA. It was during that NASA internship that Michelle finally met members of the Zizian community in person, an encounter that would alter the course of her life.
And man, you think like, oh, my kid's fine. She's in college. She's getting a master's degree. And then it's like, I read this Harry Potter book. And you're like, oh no. And then suddenly the tone shifts. And
it's so upsetting too for parents, because at least for me, I'm like, if I can just get them through being kids and teenagers and stuff, and then they're like young adults, like they're probably past the thick of it. And then you're like, oh no, they're just getting into it. So you feel like, what was all the stuff that, and I would of course question like, what did I miss? What did I do or didn't do? Yeah. But it's just, even though, she's not a kid or a teen or anything, she's still your kid. And when they choose a life like this, it's very hard to come to terms with.
Yeah, especially if they're like, okay, I'm going to move. Now I'm going to move to Vermont on this land. And they're like, okay, we love you. Like, you're just kind of like, these are choices that you're making. And it's like fascism is rising in the US and like the world is ending and I am complicit in animal murder and I have to go move to this like abandoned land by myself. You're just like, we love you, kiddo. Like, what do you even do?
Yeah. I mean, they're an adult. So technically you can't prevent them. You try and be supportive so you don't lose contact in the event that some shit does go really wrong, Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what they try to do.
On December 31st, 2022, Jamie's 33rd birthday, Rita texted her daughter, informing Jamie that a savings bond for which Jamie was the beneficiary was set to mature. Jamie did not respond to her mother's message. According to police reports, that night, Richard and Rita were inside their Chester Heights home alone. Ring camera footage from a neighbor across the street captured an unknown vehicle pulling into the Zajkos curved driveway at 11:29 p.m. 1 minute later, the surveillance feed captured the sounds of screams, including one high-pitched voice yelling,
"Mom!"
and,
"Oh my God, oh God, God!"
The screaming lasted approximately 24 seconds. The camera captured motion at the front door as two adults entered the house. Upstairs, a light turned on. Approximately 9 minutes later, two individuals exited through the front door, entered the car, and left the property. Rita's autopsy revealed that she died from a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. Richard suffered wounds to his right hand and right temple. The autopsy recovered a, quote, jacketed hollow point type bullet from Richard's head as evidence. Police questioned Jamie Zajkos about her parents' murder on January 4th at her home in Vermont. She denied speaking with her parents since the prior January and claimed she had not been in Pennsylvania since COVID lockdowns. She claimed she had been home with her roommate, fellow Zizian Daniel Blank, for a number of days before and after the murders. During the interview, investigators examined a Smith & Wesson pistol owned by Jamie Zajkos. Forensic analysis later determined that this type of handgun could have produced the distinctive markings found on the bullet recovered from Richard Zajkos' head. Additionally, ammunition Jamie had purchased was the same brand and type as the spent casings found at the crime scene. She also did not initially disclose that she had received a text message from her mother about savings bonds until asked directly. Yikes. Well, that's a big... Some may say motive, at least a big clue. We need that context. And if you leave it out, that gives even more weight to it.
Yeah, it starts to be like, why didn't you mention that? Allegedly, based on all the facts at hand, it does not look good if you are in possession of the type of weapon that killed your parents, that you are the recipient of information that there was money waiting for you, and also that the audio on the recording says mom.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh God, God.
Yeah.
So I don't know if mom was one voice. I mean, it's been reported as two different voices. Someone screamed mom, and then separately someone screamed, oh God, oh my God, God. So it certainly makes one wonder if perhaps someone's getting somebody's attention by yelling mom at them and then realizing that it is a gun-toting somebody that's calling that out, that if the mom says, oh God, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, anyone can yell mom.
True, as a trick to get somebody to come outside.
But it is how it, there or not there. I believe she knew.
It sounds it's certainly an interesting set of circumstances.
Yes. Online writings from Jamie revealed allegations of abuse against her now dead parents, alleging that they forced her to eat meat or dye her brown hair blonde. The Zajkos also reportedly had several $1 million in assets, with Jamie as their only heir, including assets from Jamie's grandmother, who had passed before her parents' murders. Friends of the family have strongly denied any allegations that Richard or Rita abused their daughter.
And I think people have coupled Michelle's writings with Zizian writings that are like, you have a moral imperative for revenge. If someone's ever harmed you, you have to kill them or end it because they will keep harming other people, yada, yada, yada. And there is also the financial, let's just be honest, the financial aspect here. Because none of these people, it's like, and they were all gainfully employed and were regular workers showing up. It's like they were feral on their squatting nude, eating out of cans. Like they need money.
And surviving off of like trust funds that have since run out, or, their parents had been floating the bills for them and then they lost contact and they're like, well, we're not going to keep paying for all of your stuff. It reminds me a lot of, once again, the case escapes me, but the allegations were that the daughter of the parents and someone else drove from, I believe, New York. They had gone to the movies and she used the movie ticket as like evidence that she hadn't really gone to her parents' house. Do you remember this? And then I think it was her and a boyfriend and they were stabbed at the dinner table.
I don't recall that. Golly. But that's just my you never know.
Maybe it was something I watched on my own. What
maybe.
Am I talking about? It's a question I ask myself multiple times a day.
Well, if you're listening and you recall, like, just holler, because I would be fascinated by that. Because I think you're right. There's a lot of like.
Do you remember a case where the timeline, the person who was accused was saying, we couldn't have done it because we went to the movies and I have this movie ticket. And then it later was like, well, I actually stayed in the hotel and my boyfriend went to my parents' house. I think it was the boyfriend.
That I don't remember that part. I do remember the movie thing as a alibi, but I cannot recall.
Damn, dude. Well, it was very similar to this, that the parents were home and they either thought they were meeting with their daughter or they recognized the person that came in because, but it was all financially motivated. And, I remember they even had the crime scene photos in this documentary and they were heinous.
That I don't recall.
Man.
But maybe, like I said,
I'll figure it out, y'all. Don't you worry. I'll figure it out.
Or, I mean, honestly, people listening, y'all might know what you're talking about. Throw it in the comments on Patreon.
Nova. I bet she'll come up with it if I give her enough details. In early January of 2023, police executed a search warrant at a Delaware County motel where Michelle Jamie Zajko was staying while attending her parents' funerals. Zajko was briefly detained, but authorities released her without filing charges, citing a lack of direct evidence. In the adjacent room, police found Daniel Blank, a known Zizian affiliate, and discovered a handgun registered to Zajko, matching the caliber of the weapon used in the murders of Richard and Rita. Meanwhile, police found Ziz Lota hiding in the bathroom. When officers attempted to arrest her, she refused to open her eyes, speak, or move her body, according to court records. She was charged with obstructing a homicide investigation and disorderly conduct for allegedly helping Zajkos evade detection.
Have you seen the mugshot?
I do think I've seen the mugshot. I will also say the description of how she acted when they confronted her is how when we're like, okay, kids, it's time to go to bed. And all of a sudden, nobody can move. Everyone is just,
still.
Yeah, you're like frozen. Planking? You've become, all of your functions have shut down.
Like, and I'm planking.
It pisses me off to no end because I'm like, I know you can hear me. We all know you can. And for an adult to be acting like that with me, if I was a cop, oh my God.
Oh, it would piss me off. Because there's multiple, obviously she's been arrested more than once, but this mugshot, I just texted it to you. It's just, I had to repeatedly be like, this is a real mugshot. Like, this is real.
Oh, well, she looks like she's passed on.
She looks dead. She looks like Weekend at Bernie's.
Like, she looks like, I wouldn't even say, I guess sleeping, but more dead.
I love that the person's hand is on the top of her head. And
you're like
cheek.
Keeping it.
They're like, okay, well, we'll just hold you up then. We're still going to, I do appreciate the Delaware County authorities to be like, we're still going to arrest you.
Fuck yeah.
Like, you can play possum. That's what my parents used to call it. Like, oh, she's playing possum. They're like, play possum all you want. We'll just like dump your body into the holding cell. I have a feeling you'll wake up pretty quick when people in the holding cell start poking at you.
Yeah.
But you tell me like how we won't do this way or that way. So she did end up getting arrested. And I do wonder if she would have acted right and just talked to the police. They let Jamie Zajkos go. The person
wild.
That's accused of murder, they let her go. Meanwhile, you're just like planking in a bathtub and you get fucking arrested because you don't know how to behave.
What do you think that if you just disassociate and don't answer, that everyone's going to leave you alone? Ziz, I promise you that's not the case.
Trying it. I've been trying it
every day. It's not the case.
Yeah.
But it's so arrogant too. And like silly and juvenile and childish to be like, I just won't talk. And then like, if you can't see me, I can't see you type of thing. No, that's not how it works.
Silly and juvenile is a great way to put it. And it's fucking scary when these folks that respond to reality with juvenile things are also responding with juvenile things like, well, I didn't like it, so I'm going to kill him. And it's like some things are funny juvenile, which like that, arguably that's a hilarious mugshot. And it's like these other people like lost their lives because these folks don't know how to deal with their fucking feelings.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
I don't want to get evicted. I'm going to samurai sword a man?
No.
Fuck you. Or like, I want money and I'm going to kill two people. I don't know what the, any of the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Motive?
Yes. I'm not sure. We can assess what we think the motive is, but it's like at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to open your fucking eyes and take your medicine and do the right thing and not just be a baby about it.
Yeah. It would seem if they are killing the landlord because they don't want to pay him, and then parents that it's known there's money there are killed, that there is some financial motivation going on for sure. Not to mention none of these dipshits have jobs, so they got to get money from somewhere. Lota was held in jail for 6 months before posting bail and later skipping her court date. Zajkos and Blank were released after a few hours in custody. From there, the trio vanished into what Zajkos would later call their
homebrewed witness protection program.
Eventually, all three left the area for places unknown. How they were all let go is so who else do you think did this? Cops?
Yeah. It's wild that they just keep being like, well, we don't really have a lot of evidence. I wonder if they underestimated how willingly mobile these folks were. Like, be like, oh, well, we'll just go back to our house and check. My dude, she doesn't even have a house in Vermont. She's got a box truck on land. Like, these are not the type of folks that you could just be like, well, we'll just sit on them for a while and see if we can gather more evidence. Like, it is imperative you gather as much evidence as fast as possible because they will literally run away from the hospital.
How did the police in this instance not know about the faking of the death and the previous chart and like the rap sheet? Does that not all show up when you run their name in the system?
I'm sure it did after they arrested her, but it's not an extraditable offense. Like the stuff that Ziz was being charged with from the 2019 protest situation in California, she technically wasn't charged in the Curtis Lynn stabbing, and she wasn't, what she was charged with, the child endangerment and all that. That's just pending proceedings. It wasn't even a conviction. And it's not that they're going to extradite her from Philly to, back to California for something like that. So even if it did come up, and it probably does, they probably have some sort of intra-agency, whatever, but she's not really technically she was listed as dead up until a couple before. They're probably like, who even are you? Wait.
The whole thing is just so bizarre for them to just let them go so easily without keeping eyes on them.
Yeah, you're right. And I think perhaps they just didn't know. They thought, oh, well, this must be, adopted daughter kills her parents for money. We'll figure this out. Not going. And also she's actually a member of this weird, nascent cult that's killing other people and other, or attacking other people in other places. And so the cops, they maybe underestimated the situation.
In mid-2023, signs emerged that the Zizians may have been regrouping in North Carolina. In July, Felix Ophelia Bockholt, a German national working as a quant trader in New York City, rented half of a duplex in Chapel Hill. Bockholt had reportedly connected with Lota online, though no public reason was ever given for renting the property in Chapel Hill. Observers speculated the move may have been a quiet attempt to establish new Zizian operations in the region. Other than this, the core members remained largely out of the public eye for much of the year. Zajkos remained a person of interest in her parents' murders, but was not detained.
It's my understanding that Ophelia moved to the States the day before the Zajkos were murdered, or somewhere near around there, and then was working this job as a quant trader, which you're making six figures easy, mid six figures, but got wrapped up in all this and was like, I would love to move to a completely faraway state with no one there.
It's interesting how people find themselves wrapped up in these types of groups.
Yeah, it's just Ophelia's been on this new website, and then all of a sudden it's I'm moving to the United States, and you're like, oh, okay. Serious.
By early 2024, movement among the group became more visible. In February, Zajkos contacted attorneys in Pennsylvania to ask about inheritance matters related to her parents and grandmother. Around the same time, Zajkos purchased 4 handguns and gave 2 of them to fellow Zizians, Teresa Youngblood and Ophelia Bockholt. Around the same time, in May of 2024, Youngblood's family reported her missing after receiving a cryptic email and discovering she had changed her phone number.
Like you said, as a parent, what do you do if literally all of a sudden your daughter, Teresa Youngblood, just packed all of her shit out of her room, got her passport, got her medical records, stuffed it all in duffel bags, left. She emailed her mom 2 days before Mother's Day, just being goodbye. And then a couple days after that, emailed him again and was I've moved in with a new friend and I have a new phone number. Don't contact me. And the parents were before she moved out, we would be where are you going to go? And she would lie to us. And they were she had never lied to us before. So all of a sudden she started hiding about where she was going. Her long-term friends were we were friends forever. And she stopped talking to me. She just cut me out of her life. So it starts to seem she got wrapped up in this.
Yeah. It's so sad too, because like you said, they're adults. So for the parents and her friends, you can't, force them to stay at your house. All you can really do is keep that connection, when we saw with Love Has Won and stuff. So, they're still alive. You're watching live streams of them just to make sure they're still alive. And it's so very sad.
You're right, too, because the parents feel desperate. They're she had no diagnosed mental health disorders. We don't know what happened. And the cops literally said, she's an adult. She's well within her rights to go wherever she wants to go. And her parents have reached out to friends and all telling the police going, it seems like she's in a controlling relationship and she's being told to do these things or being made to do these things. And I would never, your brain, of course, it's more likely that your kid is in a controlling, emotional, like romantic relationship than they fell in with a fucking national cult, like a nationwide known cult. Yeah. But it was the latter for them. But I can see how there would be similarities where it's like, I can't do that. Well, I have to go. Mm-hmm. I can't. Well, and you're just like, you don't seem like you're making choices.
Yeah. And they were right. She was involved in a controlling, abusive relationship. It was, with perhaps multiple people, but in the end, the one person was in charge of all of it. Maybe not romantically, but it's still a very, a lot of similarities. And it's pretty astute for the parents to recognize, like, I think this is what's going on. You were not wrong. You just didn't realize the magnitude of it.
Like I said, like, how could you ever even conceptualize, like, oh, but actually she joined a cult. And Daniel Blank's family had mentioned a very similar thing where he began to get a little bit separated, lying, cutting them off, silence. And they said the last thing they got from him was a gruesome video of farm animals being slaughtered with the message, look what you've done. And then never heard from him again. So I think Ziz is like, oh, your parents are meat eaters. Yeah. They're murderers. So you're living with some murderers right now, and like making these people recontextualize their parents in their head instead of like, this is a person who's open to who I am and how I'm changing and who loves me, instead of being like, they would never understand because they're killers.
Yeah. That reminds me of a point I was going to make with Rita and Richard. If the quote unquote abuse is, they're forcing me to eat meat and I'm vegan, and they're forcing me to dye my brown hair blonde. Okay, if true, that does suck. It's not anywhere close to the type of abuse that would, like Menendez brothers abuse, where you're like, well, I could see, why it would come to this. Even though it's not right, I could see where, like, that's just you throwing a temper tantrum, which to me is being like, they're do you see how abusive they are? They're forcing you to eat meat. And then that you should kill them. They've wronged you. Mm-hmm. Oh, they also have millions of dollars in assets? Well, isn't that convenient? But they abused you, so you should probably take care of them.
Take care of them, get rid of them, and then you can use those assets to like fund our community that I'm a part of.
But we're helping. 100%. We're helping undo all of the other people that are the meat murder industry.
Mm-hmm. We're saving the world, but really you're just not wanting to pay your own bills at work.
The group's movements became even more mysterious and seemingly erratic. In November of 2024, public records revealed that Youngblood and another Zizian, Maximilian Snyder, who both attended the same high school, applied for a marriage license in Washington state, listing a Kirkland condo as their shared address. Yet that same month, Youngblood also rented a condominium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, in the same neighborhood as Ophelia Bockholt. As with Bockholt's rental, there was no official explanation, but the pattern of overlap and secrecy continued to fuel speculation that the group was quietly reestablishing itself in North Carolina. There is no public record confirming that Youngblood and Snyder ever married, making their moves even stranger to outsiders. However, soon, Snyder, Youngblood, and Bockholt's names would be all over the national news, linked to 2 more brutal deaths in 2 states across the country. So what do we think?
I think they were trying to establish something in North Carolina because the guy that rented the units was like, hey, they paid me like 10 grand in advance to like extend their stay. And I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. But then he did notice, he goes, they were always wearing black. And in the back of my mind, this entire time, I'm just thinking like, what's going on with these people? And he also said he noticed that there were box trucks parked in front with electrical cords running into the unit. So what I think happened is, for a time, I don't know, it's going to come out eventually, but I think for a time, Ziz, Jamie Zajkos, Daniel Blank, somebody, whoever is on the run, maybe Max Snyder, although he wasn't on the run, but just like wherever these people need somewhere to live. And they were like, okay, we need somebody with a clean record, enter Teresa Youngblood, to go ahead and sign for, and Ophelia Bockholt. We need some clean record people to sign for a place where we can plug in. Why they picked Chapel Hill, I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's lots of land, maybe, kind of like out in the woods or something. But it's also like a college town and, a nice city. So I hope nothing untoward's going down in Chapel Hill.
Right. I mean, hopefully not. But yeah, I mean, on the flip side, in Kirkland, Washington, you have this marriage license between Max and Teresa, and the people at the Kirkland condo was like, yeah, they moved in. They were we don't see them that often, but we know they moved in. So then I'm like, okay, were they really going to get married? And then this all, got in the way. But it's
was
weird
it just
because
for financial gain.
Financial gain, because the two of them, Max Snyder and Teresa Youngblood, went to the same prestigious private lakeside school in Seattle. So there's at least some sort of real world connection there. But again, it's just like he was a data scientist studying computer science and philosophy. He had an interest in artificial intelligence. He said on his LinkedIn, like, I want to help advance the technological frontier of humanity in this like responsible way. So again, resume wise, these all seem like the cream of the crop kind of kids. And then you're like, why are you fucking around with these box trucks in North Carolina? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It's strange what draws people into groups like this that fills some kind of void that they're otherwise lacking, or Ziz says the right things that they've been longing to hear.
It hits them. It's like you said, it hits their ear in a way that they weren't used to being talked to about. Or I think too, because of Ziz's whole, well, like I have the, I was almost laughed. I have. I'm so sorry.
I have the power.
No, so stupid to say. I have a double good brain.
Oh yeah.
But when she convinces him of that, I mean, I laugh because it's such a stupid moniker. But at the end of the day, I think because of how absolute she feels, and like, no, this is existential. And the problem is they have the underlying, it's much like a Christian doomsday cult, where you have the underlying authority reality of the church. In this case is Eliezer, whatever, Yudkowsky. Mr. Yudkowsky has straight up said in a publicly available TED Talk, the world's going to end. AI is going to end the world. So Ziz isn't the only body saying that, but Ziz is saying it in a little bit different way. Yeah. And saying to react in a different way.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Instead of the Harry Potter 660,000 page or word fanfic, it's like, gather all the weapons and we're going to kill everyone's rich parents so we can just continue running amok and creating havoc.
Yeah. And also gather all the surgical equipment so I can do experiments on people, ?
Yeah, then you get into like real fucked up stuff if you start convincing people, well, let me just, that's like back in,
let me poke around
psychiatry in the olden days, like drilling in people's heads and shit.
Trans-Allegheny. I mean, we saw that whole presentation on the lobotomy guy. We talked about him in the episode who traveled around saying this was going to solve everything. So there's a problem when you have somebody that knows just enough to get them in trouble, like that they sound authoritative, and you have people that like follow them enough that legitimizes them. That's the danger. Like I said, whoever set up Zizians.info is doing the Lord's work, so that people Googling it early on could at least somewhat get like links sent to them or shown to them. And to be fair, the Less Wrong Wiki, which is a user, it's like Wikipedia, right? Like a user made thing. They have created pages dedicated to some of this. There's at least one on Richard and Rita Zajkos murder, and saying like, these are people that used to be affiliated with, their daughter used to be affiliated with us. She is no more. Like, we want to make this clear. So it's like a church where you have members that quit your church and you're like, we weren't killing anybody. And we want, they used to go there, but we don't have nothing to do with them. And it's so ironic that it's all this like heavily atheistic stuff. And I'm like, you are acting exactly like churches and church cults. Yeah. Period. You just are. So
you don't have to pray to a god to be a cult. You just got to get a bunch of people together, do a bunch of bad shit.
Right. It doesn't have to be an imaginary man in the sky that you worship. It can be an imaginary person in real life where you think Ziz is this, amazing person, but it's imaginary. Like, she's created this smokescreen that she's some amazing Darth Vader. Like, bitch, you ain't seen the end of the movie. The good guys win. Like, why are you aligning yourself with the rebel?
I didn't need to see the end. I stopped halfway through. Well, it's like Kramer with Die, or what is it, Die again?
Where he's like, I want you to pull my plug. Just pull my plug.
You gotta wait till the end. You gotta
watch the end of the end.
Cry again. That's what it was. Not die. Oh man,
that's a good one though. But yeah, we will continue with these Zizians and where they ended up, and it's nerve wracking when you haven't heard from a group like this in a while though. Like, they kind of go underground like most of 2023, 2024, and you're like, What are you fucking around with?
Yeah. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, type of thing. Well, they're in North Carolina is where we're leaving off right now. We'll see where they still are next week in the conclusion of our Zizians deep dive.
Absolutely. And shout out to everybody who's listened this far.
Yeah, no, we've gotten a lot of comments that are like, I've been hoping y'all cover that because it is so, topical and going on right now. And it's always just wild when you learn about new cults in present time. You're like, we're still doing this? We're all still fucking doing
I'm
this?
like, you have the internet and the choice is still, which is hard. And that's how much they suck you in. But it is wild to me in this day and age that when you are presented with a digital god, whether it's Ziz, Profundity Yours, Love Has Won, Bettino Mansaro, Twin Flames, Teal Swan, and as much as shitbag Twin Flames says, just turn the camera off or just turn the computer off, just turn it off. Tell that to me at 3:00 in the morning when I'm scrolling, and that's not even telling me it's going to answer all my problems. I think it is. It's not. Spoiler. It's going to cause more problems. But I think that's such a testament to not only the power of this technology, the chokehold it has on us, but also the nefarious people that have figured out how to manipulate it in a Zuckerbergian way where TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of them know what it is to keep you sucked in. And they're not the only ones that know that. And folks like Ziz or whatever kind of, whether consciously or subconsciously, are doing those same things where it's like, you got to you're like, you'll die if you stop reading this. Yeah. Literally, she makes it sound like you're going to fucking die if you don't follow her. And we got to, I don't know, we need like a browser plugin that's like, hey, I think Clippy
once again could save the day. Clippy just pops up. It's like, it looks like you're thinking about joining a cult. And you're like, oh my God, this is a cult? And Clippy's like, yeah, girl, I'm not here to judge, but you don't want to get messed up with these people.
Well, Clippy, where were you when I was getting sucked into Wild Bald Country? That's what I want to know. When I was following Osho, I need Clippy to be like, put those cards down.
Clippy was like, she'll learn eventually.
It'll be hilarious. Well, part 3, we got it for you. And it doesn't get any less violent.
No.
Ziz. Ziz.
It doesn't get any less violent. It sure doesn't. But this is ever developing. So maybe there'll even be new information to add in before the new one comes out next week.
Oh, there are headlines all the time.
Absolutely. As always, the devil rules the airwaves.
Keep it creepy.
This episode of Sinisterhood is made possible with the help of our amazing patrons.
If you're interested in supporting the show, consider joining our Patreon. You'll get access to ad-free regular episodes, weekly bonus content, you're able to vote on episode topics, join our monthly live streams, and more.
Keep it creepy.
Mwah.